What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is a little bit different. I'm actually going to be working on a customer car. He has a 17 STi. Essentially, I think there's something up with the motor. I'll have him explain it, but we got to pull the old motor out, drop a new one in, and then build a fuel system and wire up some gauges. So we're going to see how much we can get done today. If we can't get it done today, he'll just leave it and I'll get to it tomorrow. But yeah, he should be here in about 5-10 minutes, and I'll have him kind of tell you what's going on. Alrighty, so we got the car pulled into the garage, and over here we have boxes and boxes of parts. This garage gets small really quick. And then over here, more parts. This might be like a front mount. And then we got an RA block. We got stage 1 heads, and yeah, pretty much everything to get this thing together. It looks like he's already kind of taken the top portion of the bay apart. Intake manifold's gone. The harness is gone. Fueling is all gone. So all we got to do is get this thing pulled out of here and start assembling the new block. And then front mount, yeah, a lot of stuff. Whole lot of work to do, so we're just going to jump into it, start getting this thing pulled, and we'll go from there. So what's going on, bud?
Blew my motor up, I believe, about a year, 1 week, and 2 days ago. And now I'm just ready to put it back together and build it.
Yeah, it's been sitting a while. Ready to have the thing back.
I'm ready.
Hell yeah. Alrighty, guys, so moving on a little bit. It kind of looks like we went backwards. I did slap the intake manifold back on because the way I pull the motors, I just wrap a strap around the manifold and tug it out. Got the front bumper pulled off because we are doing a front mount. I'm not sure. What core do you have? Do you know what size?
It should be 4.
4-inch?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a 4-inch core on the front, which means we might have to cut into the bumper a little ways to make that fit. And then all of this will come off so we can mount that. All we have left is a few bell housing bolts in the back. Slave cylinder's already out. He's pulling the down pipe off now, and then we should be able to get this thing pulled. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out how we're gonna mount this front mount on here. We're probably gonna have to pull this guy off, maybe the crash bar, and maybe this little plastic piece down here, and then we should be able to sit that in there and start running the piping. We got crash bar pulled off. Front mount is just about ready to go on, but we're not going to put that on until we get the new engine in. So I got all the bell housing bolts taken out, down pipes off. This engine is pretty much ready to pull out. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So normally, you guys know this goes one of two ways. Either it takes 5 minutes or it takes 3 hours. So hopefully you don't have to fight it too much. It has been separated from the transmission before. So hopefully with the good old putty knife, we can get that thing split and we'll get this out, start building the new one. Oh, yours is gonna be easy. It's already separated. Alright, we got the motor out of the car. We got the car backed out of the garage, so we got all the garage space to work on this thing, and we're just gonna start stripping it down. He's got pretty much everything new, so we don't have to strip it down too far, but definitely like the timing covers and all that stuff we're gonna have to pull off because we'll reuse that stuff obviously. well, not gonna lie to you guys, that was the first time I've ever not stripped out any of the cam gear bolts. So, I don't know, this is looking good. So Damien just left to go pick up some Ultra Gray and brass tee for his AOS install later. We need the Ultra Gray obviously to complete the engine. And then right now I stayed back. I'm gonna get the other head on and then maybe get our oil pickup and all that bolted in. Everything I can do before the RTV gets here. But this head is completely torqued down. I just have the cams and the cam cap just sitting in there so the buckets don't fall out. We're gonna flip this over and get the head on the driver's side. Again, just putting those on temporarily until he gets back with our RTV so we can properly seal everything. I'm gonna flip it over, get our oil pickup on, maybe the oil cooler if I can find it in one of these boxes, and essentially just get what I can on in the time it takes him to get back. All right, I've gone ahead and torqued down the pickup, the baffle, and I'm looking for his oil cooler, and he says he has a new one with an oil pump, and I've gone through pretty much all of these boxes, and I don't see it. So I'm hoping when he gets back, hopefully it's in the truck, or he knows he put it in one of these boxes, because I'm not seeing it. This one has a lot of oil in it. I see 3 filters in there, but yeah, I haven't seen an oil pump or a cooler. And obviously, if this thing did spin a rod or something, and it has bearing material, we're not gonna use the same pump and the same oil cooler. So he doesn't know exactly what happened to it, but for peace of mind, yeah, I would not put this together without a new pump and a cooler. Just because if it did, then there's gonna be bearing material in those components, and it's just gonna go right back into the new engine. So yeah, hopefully he's got it in the truck. driver's side head is completely assembled all the way to valve cover. We got to get the cams, cam caps, and valve cover torqued down on the passenger side, and then we can move on to manifold, oil cooler, oil pump, which he did find, thank God. So yeah, making progress. I'm gonna go put the camera on the charger, and in the meantime, we'll get that side done. All right, so jumping ahead, we had the camera on the charger, made some solid progress, got the pan on, oil cooler's on, heads are all done, oil pump is on, primed and packed. Make sure you do that if you're doing an oil pump. Priming just helps when you start up the car for the first time. You want to have some oil pressure. Now we just got to take our Company 23 tools and get our little cam seals and main seals pushed in, and then we should be ready to do water pump and headers and everything else. Alright, coming along, we're just working on getting the tedious stuff done. So this block, everything's transferred over from the other one that needs to be transferred over. We got new Cobb 20G turbo on here. Crossover's all done, the headers are on. Everything on the bottom is good to go, motor mounts are on. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and get our cam gears on, get this thing timed up, and then yeah, all that's really left is the top stuff. Just picked up some more clamps so we can get this AOS routing done. So we're gonna do the same thing with the AOS that I do on all the other cars, delete the coolant expansion tank up here. If you guys are wondering how I run all the hoses, I have a few other videos, I'll link it up here. But yeah, it cleans up the entire bay on the car, and yeah, there's a lot of things you don't need to run. We're gonna do that. All right, we just went ahead, got this thing all timed up. Everything's good. We spun it over a couple times, make sure everything stays in time. And if you're looking to time an engine, I also have a few videos on that. We're just trying to get this block done to get back in the car. But this is good to go, so we can go out and pull our little grenade pin, and we can get the covers on, get this thing prepped to go back in the bay. All right, we kind of called it a night last night. We were both pretty gassed, but hopefully today we can get this thing completely wrapped up and get a first start in the STi. So he's not here yet. He's probably gonna show up a little bit later. I'm just gonna go ahead, try to finish up this engine, get it in the car, and then yeah, just button everything up. We still gotta do the fuel system. We gotta wire some gauges, and yeah, just wrap everything up. And hopefully by the time he gets here, we're almost ready for our first start. This is about where we got to yesterday. So old block, new block, obviously. Yeah, it's pretty much all timed up. It's almost ready to go. We just got to get the manifold on, run our fuel lines underneath. We do need to get the AOS lines ran. So you guys know I run right from the water pump to the AOS. So we'll just barb into the existing coolant line, and that'll be our coolant feed to the AOS, to the turbo, and then back to the head. So let's get the Evo rolled back out. I'm gonna pull out the manifold, which is down there, get it all disassembled, all the old fuel lines off, and then we'll start building the new IAG lines, which are right there. All right, so moving quite far ahead, we have this block completely ready to drop in the car. Everything's all routed. New fuel system is in there. We got the new inlet. Everything that we're taking out is out. And yeah, this thing is pretty much ready to go. And I see my camera's already starting to fog up because of the humidity, which is why I haven't really recorded much, but we have throw-out bearing back in there with the slave cylinder. We're gonna get this bad boy on the engine crane and hopefully slide it in there nice and easy. All right, try to get one of them bolts in. It's way easier with two people. Mine's in. Hold on, keep it right where it is. It's not really right. I'll pull it back out. So we went to drop the block in, and I went to spin the crank to get it onto the input shaft of the transmission, and it wouldn't spin. So I was kind of boggled. Didn't really know what was going on because it spun fine before the clutch and flywheel, but figured it out. Your boy forgot to take out his handy dandy Company 23 flywheel locker. And I actually did that in the Duramax a few years ago too with another tool kind of like that, but gave old boy a heart attack. But let's get that off and then we should be able to drop this thing in. After 3 trial and errors of my mess ups, finally got the engine in. Now we're just gonna essentially button everything up and hopefully we can get a first start today, but we're trying to get this done before the sun goes down, so I'm just gonna put the camera away and we'll pick up once we make some more progress. Alrighty, I know I haven't recorded much and I apologize, but it's the next day now. I pretty much have this thing completely buttoned up. We got the front mount on, this beautiful carbon intake on. Everything is assembled, got the battery on, we got the gauges, and we're pretty much ready for our first start. We just gotta add fluid. So like I mentioned, it is the next day. Damien did go home last night. He can come pick it up tomorrow, so I'd like to get this thing completely dialed in, get the base map on it, make sure everything is running smooth, and that way when he gets here, he can drive it out of the driveway and take her home. So let's get some fluid in this thing, and hopefully we can get a first start. Okay, we got oil in the car. I haven't put coolant in it yet just because I want to, make sure it runs before I fill it with coolant and, then we'll have to drain it all. So, yeah, it's topped off on oil. We got the crank sensor unplugged. I got a base map on the car. We're gonna crank it till we build oil pressure and then we'll plug the crank sensor back in. Then it's game time. So it fired, didn't last very long, died, and then it sounds like it didn't want to do anything else. I did go ahead and crank up our fuel pressure. It was reading a little bit low on the gauge on the regulator. So I cranked that up to right around where it should be. Let's give this another try. You're gonna blow that thing up. Oh my God. Homie's gonna hit my mailbox. Oh my God. Yo, that thing sounds like ass. Anyways, guys, STi, I've worked on it for the past 3, 4, 5 days. Alright, so as I'm filming this closing, about 5 days after we started this build, I did find a solution, I think. I'll get to that in a second. But in the past 3, 4 days, I've literally just spent troubleshooting this damn car, trying to figure out what the heck has been going on. Yeah, it's been a weird one. So it threw, after it started that first time and shut off, it wouldn't start again. It threw a couple codes. The two main ones were knock sensor and camshaft position sensor on the intake side, on the passenger side. So I figured out the knock sensor. That was just when he pulled the manifold the first time. I think the knock sensor was left plugged in. It just pulled the pins out. And so I just put the pins back into the connector where they belong, and everything was good. The cam sensor code is what's been bugging us. I've literally tested everything. I've looked at every single pin on the entire harness, made sure the connectors were good, made sure the sensors were good. I took sensors out of my car, put it in this car. I've tested crank sensor, cam sensors, knock sensors, you name it. I've literally tested everything. Obviously we have fuel pressure, so I knew that wasn't an issue. I pulled the plugs look good. I took the timing cover off, made sure it was in time. Everything looked good there. Made sure that the cam was actually spinning, just in case maybe the cam gear wasn't on the dowel. Everything looked good. I could look through the cam sensor hole and see the back end of the cam. So we were boggled. I talked to a lot of people who may have a solution to this, and we had everyone boggled. The last thing we could think of that could have been an issue was the ECM. Maybe it's telling the car something wrong. Whatever it was, this code was telling the car. Hold on, getting a phone call. Devin. Oh my God, dude. Anyways, whatever that sensor was doing was telling the car not to start. It wasn't telling it how much fuel, how much spark to give. And yeah, we were boggled. And the last thing we could think could be an issue was the ECM. So, since I've spent literally the past 4 days trying to figure out what the heck's been going on with this freaking car, he was actually gonna have the car pulled out of here tomorrow and take it to a Subaru shop, probably sometime in the near future, to hopefully test the ECM. Obviously, I was super disappointed. Damien was super disappointed. I felt horrible that he couldn't be driving out of here. It didn't run when I got here, but at the same time, obviously I want to see him drive this thing down the road. So anyways, he just took all the stuff out of the garage, and this car was gonna get picked up tomorrow. But I just was going through the footage, and I sent a video to a few guys. One of them was Remy, and showed him the clip of the car starting. He said his car did the exact same thing when he put his cams in backwards. Now, obviously, this could have been a problem, right? But I've looked at the back of the cam many times, looking through the little cam sensor hole once I pull the cam sensor, and I can see the cam. Now, I wasn't there when Remy did this with his car, so I didn't know exactly how much cam he could see, but I figured if I could see the cam back there, it meant we were good. But I figured, why don't I go pull the cam sensor back off my car, and I can compare the two. So I did that, and sure enough, I don't know how this happened. We pulled a Remy. It boggles my mind. I didn't think it was possible, I don't know how I did that, but on my car, I can see the entire cam through that hole. And looking through this car, I can only see like the first quarter, maybe the first half of the cam. So yeah, there's no cam to pick up on the sensor. That's gonna be your problem. So I don't know what happened. I really went and plugged the camera in when we did that side. So I don't know, I'm not gonna put the blame on anyone. I was definitely out here when we bolted it together and I put the valve cover on. So it's just something I didn't pick up on. I don't know. I really don't know how I did that, but tomorrow or Saturday, I'm gonna pull this engine back out and just fix it. Hopefully that is the issue. I think it's probably gonna be easier if I just pull the motor out. It's pretty quick on a Subaru. We'll swap them cams and hopefully this thing starts. Hopefully we didn't bend any valves or do anything, detrimental. I don't think we did. I know Remy swapped the cams and he was good to go, so yeah. It's kind of relieving that we might know what the issue is now, and I'm hoping that's it. Hopefully I can get these swapped and we can send it on its way. I think Damien just left with the keys, so hopefully he can bring them back and we'll get a first start this weekend. Fingers crossed, but I'm gonna wrap up this video right here. It's a rough one, guys, but catch you in the next one. Peace out. See y'all later.